It was during the fight on the aircraft carrier that Kong then realized that he was not the only king. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Matthew and today we're back with our Godzilla vs. Kong Playmates figures reviews. And for this one we're going a little bit backwards because I did skip out on a 6-inch figure because of one reason, and we'll get to that reason during the review. But I thought I might as well take a look at it because I really have no intentions of getting the full thing. That is the Kong with fighter jet. Now, this is going to be the second version of the 6-inch Kong within the line. And then after this was going to be, not like, I don't think chronological order, but there was the Hong Kong battle variant, that being the third, and then the Antarctic Kong at fourth. So you had like several different Kongs, several versions of Godzilla, the works. But as shown here, this is going to be the fighter jet Kong, as it's basically going to be featuring some new sculpt work, but just kind of kept the same, if that makes any sense. So with that said, this is going to be an interesting case because there is something about this figure I still have yet to point out. So let's go ahead and talk about the Kong with fighter jet. So starting off with the accessories, well, this is awkward. Yeah, the thing that I was going to point out is this guy doesn't actually come with the fighter jet. Now, the retail release Kong with fighter jet does. And what's the excuse for me? Like, why doesn't mine come with it? Well, I got mine used off a secondhand seller that was selling it. This figure, not necessarily in a lot, but just had some other listings that I decided to combine together into just one order. And there was like a bootleg Godzilla T-Rex hybrid thing that's actually still in my little cabinet that I keep all my minifigures in. And my Playmates Godzilla 2014 with the tank. That's actually like, it was a mint condition. Like it was in the box, even though the box would be open, exposed to the elements. I don't really like it when figure companies do that, but Playmates seem to really love them, so there's that. So this one was, my theory was just like someone was just playing with this thing, got bored of it, and then they just eventually just wound it up in the hands of that seller. So I bought it, and there you go. Anyway, so yeah, it doesn't actually come with the fighter jet. Essentially, it would have been like this little plastic one-note colored jet that would have been about that big. And you could fit it into Kong's open hand, essentially just like recreating that one scene where Kong's just like on the carrier and like he throws it. I think that's honestly what it's a homage to, because that's like the only time in the movie where Kong really interacts with any sort of jet. The Hollow Earth anti-gravity vehicles don't really count as jets per se, because they are meant for hollow earth travel, not just air travel, even though they do fly. Anyway, so that, I'm going to throw up an image up on screen. There you go. And as for the actual battle damage, because it actually does come with it, there is part of the battle damage here, which all you just got to do is pry your finger right here, and it comes pretty, not easily sometimes because it is a bit finicky. Let's actually try and do it like this. There you go. So essentially it's the majority of Kong's bicep here, when it shows all of his muscles and tendons and everything. Not to the point where it reveals his arm bone per se, but this is the actual battle damage piece. Has a bit of black dry brushing, as we're going to talk about. Kind of looks like a piece of meat, to be honest. I mean, that's essentially what it is. It's a piece of meat, even though it's made of like a rubber or vinyl type material. But as you can see, there's the hinge, which thankfully that is an upside to this. The battle damage is that it does cover the hinge for those that really don't like it. So the battle damage is going to be taken from the Battle Axe Kong variant, even though the two were in production at the same time, from the back of the boxes of the original wave. So but we can't really score this because I don't have the complete everything. You know what? I'm going to wait on that. I think I'm going to hold off on scoring this guy because I don't really feel like it's fair for me to actually score something that's theoretically incomplete. So I'm going to hold off on it. but I do like the battle damage feature. I think the fighter drone itself looks cool, but like, I don't own it, so it's really not fair for me to judge it. But what I can definitely judge is the figure itself. So, for the actual sculpting and paint, this is going to be a pretty much near one-to-one reuse of the sculpt from the Battle Axe Kong. The only real difference is going to be the colorization and the face sculpt. Let's talk about that. The head sculpt, as opposed to the Fighter Jet Kong, is actually going to be a lot lighter in tone. We can actually see, I don't really think I should be like angling it down for a 6-inch toy. The face here is actually going to be a lot lighter of a color as opposed to the more blackened Battle Axe Kong. So here we have a lot more of the gray paint, and the eyes here are very well painted with the orange, a lot more centered than that of other Kongs within the line. Fur details pretty much remaining the same here, which we have a lot of that in the signature fur detail. We actually have some black dry brushing at the top of the head, which is actually pretty cool. The ears are actually sculpted really well. I do like how realistic they look. The nostrils themselves, they actually do go deep quite a bit. Not like overly deep, but still deep enough, I guess. Giggity. We actually have a closed mouth head sculpt here, which the teeth here are going to be like the snaggletooth you see on the Giant Kong, just applied to a 6-inch version with different color scheme. So it does have like that thing where it like has the teeth back there and you can kind of see it. Except the sculpt doesn't like go in as deep, so there is that. But the snaggletooth does make a return with that one tooth kind of poking out, and then these ones kind of more sunken back into the lips. Yeah, that actually does look pretty cool, honestly. So yeah, the base coloring is going to be lighter gray. Coming down to the chest, we have a shiny pair of man boobs with some gray paint over top of it, with some more beige scratch scar detail, which the spray does kind of stop when it gets to the fur, of course. The fur detail here is a bit more smoothed out, but also going to be made that hard plastic as per usual. But the belly button does make a return here. Going to the back here, we have actually a lot of nice ruggedy fur detail here. A lot more smoothed out here towards the top. But for the sides, the actual back of it, it is very well detailed. I do like how roughed up it looks. Although I will say it doesn't look 100% because it almost looks mirrored, and now I can't unsee it, as you can see. I mean, of course, that's probably how they did the sculpt anyway. Big monkey booty, per usual. For the arms here, they're going to be long, of course, with the signature fur detail, all panning through here. Not too much in the way of dry brushing at the back, but toward the front again, we have a lot of that nice black wash to bring out some more finer details of the fur kind of waving down. Looks very intricate and unique. The wrists here are going to be, well, the palms specifically are going to be painted gray. And of course, the sides of it, outskirts of it, are going to be colored the brown. And the wrists are going to be made of a soft plastic, which, by the way, just to kind of keep a tab on it, head, arms, and the legs are going to be made of a softer plastic, while the torso itself, that's all going to be made of a harder plastic. So just keep an eye out for that. I also think the hinges might be hard plastic. I don't know. Anyway, for this arm, again, more of that black dry brush, the black wash, bit more on the hinge. As you can see there, looks very nice, very intricate, very interesting as well. For the legs here, we have a ton of different details, of which dry brush over here. For the sides, they do feature some pretty nice detail work as well. Very short, stubborn legs. And for the feet themselves, they're painted gray at the bottom and gray towards the tips of the toes, but not too much like in the way of paint. I mean, you do get a bit of it. Not that much definition on the nails. See how I actually forgot to mention. Yeah, this has the clenched fist. This one has the open fist. So let's get like one more clear shot here from the side. from the back, from this back, well, this side, I guess, top, the bottom, literally the monkey booty, and of course the front. So for the Kong with fighter jet, I'm gonna say that I honestly prefer this color scheme over the original Kong with battle axe, because I just was never a fan of the way that Playmates like prefer to keep their Kongs dark and colored, because I feel like Kong as a character is mostly confined to a lot more like various different types of browns instead of like charcoal gray or charcoal black. Like that's more of a Godzilla thing. But as you can see with Kong here, they definitely fixed that issue with like actually giving it more movie accurate, so to speak, colorization. Like this actually looks more like a Kong color scheme than the other one did. So if I did have any sort of like complaints with it, I will say that I wish the dry brush was a bit more like on the chest here, and I do wish there was a bit of dry brushing here as well. But really, for an earlier Playmates, it's not bad. So I personally rate it a 7.5 out of 10. And now per articulation, which I think at this point is pretty self-explanatory what moves and what doesn't move to Playmates. So for the head, we get a pretty decent rotation. It's not like a overly loose one where you can like glide it, but it moves. So you can pretty much go a full 360 with it. No ball joint-esque movement, so you can really just do this before it starts to look weird. We have a swivel hinge here at the shoulder, so we can go, actually let's turn the hinge back away. Upwards about this far, downwards about this far, and can rotate a full 360 degrees. For the elbow, we can bend in about this far, bend out about this far, believe it or not. Let's actually reverse it, see how far we can get. Yeah, I mean, doesn't look that great. There we go. So you actually kind of swivel that as well. Full 360. I literally rotate that for days until my fingers start to cramp up. And for the wrist, which we can go full 360 like this, just to demonstrate it on both sides. As you can see here. And one more. Nothing for the waist, unfortunately, but we do have a swivel hinge for the legs, so we can go forward, back, and go a full 360 with the leg here. And depending on how you have it, you can actually kick to this side and have it like kind of swivel a little bit. So it pretty much rotates to your heart's content. And for the knee, you can go straight out about this far and bend in about this far. Nothing at the foot, although there's obviously a seam line for what would have been a foot joint. So for the articulation on Kong here, he's not bad, I would honestly say. He's definitely a lot more expressive than that of the Godzilla that would come like later, or sorry, earlier. I don't know what they were thinking with that Godzilla mold, like just giving it that flat of articulation. But that said, I definitely think this Kong was done justice in the articulation department. I'd say the only things that would be missing are like maybe a ball joint at the head, or maybe some sort of foot or waist joint. But at that point, that'd be considered nitpicking. So I'm going to rate that a 7.5 out of 10 for articulation. And for some brief size comparisons, here he is with the Mezco King Kong of Skull Island. Pretty much a hefty boy. And yeah, they definitely have the same thing in common as far as being 6-inch Kongs with their mouths closed. Well, that isn't unless you count his open mouth head sculpt. And here he is with the Derpy Godzilla, the 1989 Diamond Select Bust Bang from Godzilla vs. Biollante. Here he is with the Mechagodzilla 2019 from Godzilla King of the Monsters, specifically the V1 variant. And finally, here he is with the Playmates Godzilla vs. Kong Heat Ray Godzilla and Kong with Battle Axe. And just to really like drive home the point, there are definitely going to be different shades of brown and different shades of like darkened colors. So this one's going to be gray on like a more of a more, I don't really know what to call this one, like more of a washy brown versus this one where it looks more like a dried up brown and a charcoal black. So I'm going to say I personally prefer this color combination over this one, but if this one had the open mouth head sculpt, beautiful. And so overall, what do I think of this figure? I definitely think that Kong with Fighter Jet here is a very fantastic release. Let's actually aim this a little bit more, just so it's not in the way of the camera. I think that this Kong figure is an absolute win. Well, it improves a lot of the things that I like about the Kong with Battle Axe, because I did have some problems with it, but I think that was overall a well-rounded figure, all things considered. This Kong, however, in my personal opinion, is pretty much the better base Kong figure. It has basically the same sculpt, minus the changed face, the better paint job, and pretty much just a fluid range of articulation. I wouldn't say the accessory is better, but basically, if Playmates made a Kong variant with this specific design in mind, with the closed mouth head sculpt, with the colorization, gave it in the battle axe, and actually had the open mouth head sculpt, that would have been beautiful. Keep the color scheme, keep the articulation, keep the sculpt, but just change it to the open mouth head and give him the battle axe. That's the perfect Playmates Kong. At least from versus Kong. As for my personal recommendation, see, that's the problem. There's another version of this guy, technically, theoretically, not really, of this guy from the New Empire that released like last year, and it was closed mouth, the same way this guy is, with a snaggletooth, but he came with the battle axe, so he's almost basically what I just basically described. So, unless you really just want to collect all the GVK stuff from Playmates, you're better off skipping this one. But as for my personal rating, I'm gonna say 7.5. Again, that's how I rated everything else. That's how I'm gonna rate this guy. So with that being said, I just did my intro. Thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone.